The small town of Dancer Creek was the kind of place where everyone knew each other's name and each other's past. For Caleb Rivers, that had been a curse and a reminder of his mistakes. After serving 5 years in prison for a robbery gone wrong, Caleb had returned home hoping for a fresh start. But for most people in town, he was still that guy who had made bad choices. Caleb kept to himself, working odd jobs and staying out of trouble. He spent his evenings fixing up an old truck in the garage behind his rented trailer. It was his only sanctuary, a place where he could focus on building something instead of tearing things down. One late summer afternoon, as Caleb drove home from a landscaping job, the sound of screeching tires caught his attention. Up ahead, a small blue car had swerved off the road and crashed into a ditch. Smoke was already rising from the hood. Caleb pulled over without a second thought. He sprinted toward the car, his boots kicking up dust. Inside, he saw a young woman slumped over the steering wheel and a little boy, no older than 6, strapped into the back seat, crying hysterically. Flames were licking the edges of the engine. "Hey, can you hear me?" Caleb shouted, tugging at the driver's door. It was jammed. Panic rose in his chest, but he shoved it down, focusing on the task at hand. He ran to the back door and yanked it open. The little boy's tear-streaked face looked up at him, eyes wide with terror. "It's gonna be okay, buddy," Caleb said, his voice steady. "I've got you." The child clung to him as he unbuckled the seatbelt and pulled him out of the car. Setting the boy a safe distance away, Caleb turned back for the woman. The flames were spreading fast now, the heat almost unbearable. Adrenaline coursed through him as he grabbed a large rock and smashed the driver's side window. Reaching in, he unbuckled her seatbelt and dragged her out moments before the car erupted into a fiery blaze. The sound of sirens filled the air as Caleb sat on the ground, the little boy wrapped in his arms. The woman, regaining consciousness, looked at him with dazed gratitude. You saved us," she murmured weakly. The paramedics arrived and took over, but not before the boy clutched Caleb's hand and whispered, "Thank you." As Caleb stood watching them drive away, he noticed a crowd gathering. People had come out of their homes to see what was happening, and whispers spread quickly. "That's Caleb Rivers," someone said. "The ex-con." Did he save them? For the first time in years, Caleb didn't care what they thought of his past. He had done what was right, and that was enough. The next day, Caleb's face was on the front page of the Dancer Creek Gazette. The headline read, "Local man saves mother and child from fiery crash." The article praised his bravery and highlighted the details of his actions. At first, Caleb felt awkward about the attention. People who had avoided him for years suddenly wanted to shake his hand or buy him a cup of coffee. Even Sheriff Wilson, who had arrested him years ago, stopped by his trailer to say, "You did good, Caleb. Real good." But the moment that meant the most came a week later. Caleb was working on a fence when a car pulled up. It was the young woman he had saved, her son sitting shyly in the passenger seat. "Hi," she said, stepping out. "I'm Emily, and this is Noah. We wanted to thank you properly." Noah held out a small, hand-drawn card. On the front was a picture of a man pulling people from a fire. Inside, in wobbly letters, it said, "You're my hero." That night, as Caleb sat in his garage, he looked at the card and smiled. For so long, he had felt like his life was defined by the worst thing he had ever done. But now he realized that people could change, and sometimes life gave you a second chance to prove it. From that day on, Caleb wasn't just the ex-con who lived on the edge of town. He was the man who had saved a mother and her child. He was a hero, and for the first time in years, Caleb felt like he belonged.